Uh, all right. Now you can hear us, right? I had the mic muted. I'm such a moron. I'm so sorry.
So were fully quiet for that whole thing?
Yeah,
Is
yeah, yeah.
there internal audio from the like?
I don't know. I sure hope so. Okay, you can hear us now. I'm so sorry. I'm amazed that 30 of you sat through that. I guess we are very good looking people and
It's like the fireplace fan.
yeah. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Roberta, you are a professor at Memorial University, historian of social movements. You're working on a book about the Lewis family that in many ways is the story of the NDP. Uh, you know, like me, like I think Cam as well and others, you're pretty cynical about the potentialities of electoral politics, right? And you've been very enthusiastic in supporting the Lewis campaign. Readers of the Orchard will know how much money Roberta donated. Um, Roberta, why are you so excited about political candidate when we've seen lots of political candidates in our lifetime? I'm not going to say we've both seen a lot of political candidates in our lifetimes, which are equally as long. Roberta is as young as I am. That's okay. You can call me over. I'm fine. Yeah, well, you've been around long. You're wiser. You know that. So why? What excites you about the Lewis campaign?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple things. One, the most important is that electoral politics do matter, that, it's only a small part of a larger effort to affect change. But what we do in Parliament and beyond Parliament is really, really important. And I think we've lost the left wing and we've lost the third party option in Canada. The NDP has become very liberal light, and has been for decades. And I think I've known Avi now for almost a decade, and he always inspires me in so many important ways about these big issues, and really trying to be a bold conscience for the country and trying to push politics further to the left. That if the NDP is in suggesting bold left-wing politics, nobody is going to. And we see what's happened with the shift to the right, with the Liberals being able to just be conservative and lead off conservatives as well. And so I think it's really important to have a voice that can lead this third party. And I think the debate for a long time has been, can we save the NDP or do we need a new party? And I think this is a good chance to try and make what we currently have work. To me, it's kind of a last ditch effort. If it doesn't work, then I guess we have to rethink things. But for now, I think he's the right guy. He has bold ideas. He's really lives those values. And I think it's very exciting to see what's next.
Yeah. And look, Cam, like me, we're journalists. We don't have opinions. Don't have a dog in this fight. And as a totally objective, neutral journalist, what did you make of sort of Lewis's victory speech? The sort of spectacle of him inviting all his leadership rivals on stage, and the caucus, which could fit into a cab, and then his supporters or advisors had what was your impression?
Yeah, well, I was there with kind of halfway up with Andre from Unrigged, and Andre was quite struck by the spectacle of obviously the olive branch is kind of expected to bring maybe leadership candidates up, but what actually happened after that was Lewis brought a lot of his own team up to the stage, had kind of like a Bad Bunny, kind of carnival on stage, and it was a whole range of people. And we were seeing Sofia's, we were seeing a Palestinian flag waved, we were seeing even a Venezuela flag waved on stage there. It really did represent a coalition of a lot of values and policy planks that resonate with people like us, by which I mean objective journalists who have no dog in any race. And that was surprising. And Andre was really remarking on that this is a mainstream party. We're seeing the things that we are so frustrated by and so passionate about. reflected on that stage. I think that is true, but I also think, kind of as Roberta's alluding to, there was really nowhere else for the party to go. The strategy of being to substitute or sub in for the Liberals ended up completely failing. On your saying, the Liberals proved they were simply able to switch out the leader, switch out the politics themselves, and reap the reward and simply renew themselves on this instead. Maybe that was a narrow and rare event with the stuff going on in the US, but nevertheless, it's what happened. And I think now to come with a new leader representing that same direction, who would that have resonated with? Who would that have peeled away from the Liberals? Would the Liberals have not simply been able to do the same thing again? So I think that there really was only the pathway of realigning the NDP with grassroots activism, with different organizations, progressive groups. It seems like that will be possible under Lewis. The NDP will potentially be able to be an umbrella for progressive organizing in Canada. But the barrier that I foresee to that, which we've talked about throughout this weekend, is that the provincial governing NDP parties, which are themselves coalitions typically of federal Liberal and federal NDP voters, are really wearing out their welcome with their own bases, with progressive groups who in BC are in some cases departing the NDP for the renewed Greens during EB's rightward shift that has been going on for a few years now. There are a lot of people frustrated with their news policies, particularly around so-called criminal justice that have just come out in the budget recently. So the NDP is going to need its federal and provincial parties and the grassroots to be pushing. Bob and Lewis have both said great things about working together with the federal and the provincial wings. We wonder if the base that the NDP is rebuilding under Lewis will not be able to remain in an easy coalition with the increasingly center-right provincial parties. So that's kind of the issue. But Lewis will be able to, I think, advance at least rhetorically on a big stage. Often in the left, we talk about electoral politics will be our vehicle for policy, and we have to do our own organizing. And policy-wise, there's something to be done there. I think almost the inverted version can be true with this electoral mainstream politics can sometimes be a way to get ideas to people that wouldn't normally hear them and receive. So I think Lewis, as a strong communicator, can potentially do that and put these kind of progressive positions, well explained, into the televisions and the newspapers, also the stadium day pub. As a part of a year-round effort to rebuild the party as a party. But as you say, Roberta, these left politics, these alternative politics to the two mainstream parties.
Yeah, and we're like in a really rough spot these days, right? Like the affordability crisis, the wars everywhere, the world's in a difficult position, and people are feeling it in their daily lives. And the problem is nobody has offered them an alternative. That everybody just keeps saying, the same old policies, the same old practices. Just ramp up military, we'll ramp up our energy policies, we'll ramp up all of these things we've been doing. And I think regular average people know that they need something. They need help, and they need somebody to say, there's a different way of approaching this policy. There's a different way of living this life. There's a different way that governments can help us out. And I think once we start talking about that and getting that public out there, I think a lot of people will respond to that. People do want cheaper cell phone bills, and they do want affordable groceries, and they do want energy policies that consider the future for their kids and their grandkids. And I think these are going to be very popular policies as they get out there, and it will help hopefully shift the political spectrum much further to the left again.
All right. Should we talk about Nenchi?
Oh my God.
So I don't know if you guys saw, but Nenchi issued a statement on Twitter. It was a very long tweet about essentially saying what everyone already knows. It's that he's not a supporter of the federal party. That I believe the way he put it, I don't have it right in front of me, is that the campaign that won advocate policies that aren't in Alberta's interest, or some just right-wing framing. And he said that, and then he goes on, it's like a fairly lengthy tweet. And at the end, he's like, but we're not focused on the federal NDP. We're focused on defeating the UCP. And it's like, well, then talk about that.
Yeah.
Anyways, Roberta, you're a Calgarian. You're not supposed to support Avi Lewis. What's going on there? He was your mayor for a while. You might have even voted for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem with Nenshi is that he is a liberal and he is
If
not
that.
a new, if that, and he's not a new
He's a
Democrat.
Carnegie.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been, fighting them for a while on some of these things. He posted a thing a couple of weeks ago saying we shouldn't pit employers and employees against each other, which was a pretty big dig at Avi, I think. But also ridiculous. Like the system pits employers against employees because employers are looking for profit on the backs of their employees. The system is already doing that. It's not about us as political actors or whatever. And so I think the problem is Nenshi is not on side with any of these ideological positions. And in Alberta, the Liberal Party is a difficult prospect. Liberals are the enemy in Alberta. And so they all ended up in the NDP. And I think are pushing this NDP to be much more center right. And Nenshi is a good example of that. He was a great mayor. I think he did a lot of interesting things. He's very charismatic and he could possibly be a challenge to Danielle Smith, though we're not seeing that play out at all, I don't think, since he took over. But he is not a new Democrat. And I think the reality is that this divide in the party is a real, legitimate ideological problem. But it's that Liberals have taken over the party in the province, and now they're seeing what happens when the federal party takes a different position. And, Nenshi really should be focusing on defeating Smith because he's not, as far as I can tell, doing much to do that either. So
yeah, and what's gonna happen right now? I mean, he was also last night he posted pipelines bill NDP 1, UCP 0. And it's like, okay, so you're running the exact same campaign that Rachel Knott lost in 2023. You're going to lose because...
Yeah, if people care about pipelines, they're voting for the UCP.
Yeah, they'll vote for Danielle Smith.
They're not going to vote
she's
NDP.
Oil and gas law.
Exactly. Like, you don't support pipelines and vote NDP. It's just not going to happen. And so why are they trying to dictate what's already happening?
And I think he's...
Present an alternative.
Yeah, and I think Nenshi thinks that the problem in 2023 was that the leader wasn't smart enough, not good enough a debater, which I think Rachel Notley is quite smart. And I mean, Danielle Smith ran circles around her in the debate that Notley showed up to wearing the exact same shade of blue as Smith, and Notley was like, "Why wouldn't you talk about your record?" Sorry, Smith was saying, "Why don't you talk about your record? Why don't you talk about your..." Oh, it's because you want to hide it because there's nothing to be proud of. And Notley was like, "Oh yeah, well the UCP defunded the police." And it's just utter disdain for anyone who's on the left at all. And in that sense, Nenshi is just a culmination of what began under Notley. I do think Notley has social democratic values, and that she tried her best and did the best she thought she could do. And I think we agreed that wasn't enough. She could have gone further. But my point is that Nenshi doesn't have those social democratic values. He doesn't pretend to either in his defense, right? But I'm wondering, because we saw with Rachel someone who had solidly social democratic values, maybe of a different shade than someone like Avi Lewis. But she comes to power, gets intense blowback against media, opposition, the business lobby, and all the usual suspects. And you see her get co-opted, and then by 2019, she's like, 2015 election, she was talking about making big oil pay more money for the privilege to access our resources. By 2019, she's like, "I am the most pro-oil person in the world. I'm just saying." And so you see this co-optation. A lot of these very sort of influential party establishment figures worked in her office. I mean, Brian Topp, chief among them, was her chief of staff. Ian McGrath had a role. These are federal establishment people. We did see people who are more simpatico with Avi sweep the executive elections yesterday. So basically, the president and treasurer and vice president. Um, the national director is someone they can hire and fire, and they're going to fire Lucy Watson. I think that's quite clear. But there's still a lot more entrenched interest in the party that may not have a formal role at this point, for influential voices like Anne McGrath, like Brian Topp, all these people who support Heather McPherson. And I wanted to ask you, as someone who knows Avi Lewis quite well, and thinks very highly of him, and I think he's very in sync with sort of the project that he's proposing. How do you anticipate Lewis resisting efforts to co-opt him and to turn him down, and to push him to be more like Rachel Notley or Wobson or David Eby or John Hargan?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the struggle, and this is the struggle the party's been dealing with for a long time, is this real shift to pragmatism, to following polls, to thinking that they have to, take a certain position to convince people that they're not scary, that they're not going to, drive corporations away, or all those sorts of things. And I think this is going to be the work that has to be done. But I think, what Avi brings is this real focus on mobilizing and engaging the masses around these issues, so that we're not running our policies based on polls, and we're not targeting certain electoral districts. We're trying to mobilize individuals into collectives who can then push for change. And I mean, we'll see what happens with the inside of the party. That's going to be the biggest struggle, I think, of the whole thing. But his goal, I think, is to really mobilize that grassroots, and to really get the public pushing for change in the same ways. And I think there's an appetite for that. Like I said before, people are struggling and they want something different. And so, I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm guessing a kind of cleaning of the house within the deep state, as you called it earlier. But, that's going to be the challenge. Yeah, when the mic was off.
Yes, there is.
They were silencing you.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was these deep state elites. Brian Tobb was trying to silence me.
Yeah. I do have to run. But as I go, I'll grab Nora.
Yeah.
And I think maybe people would be interested to hear, maybe from you, Roberta, what some of the specifics that we can expect from some of these Avi platforms, which he did allude to both the other night at his rally and in his victory speech. There were some particulars, and maybe from you, Jeremy, a little bit about this issue that Nenshi, how Wob handled some of the questions from reporters in the scrum that you were in, regarding that potential tension between these kind of Western provincial NDP parties and their so-called pragmatism versus Avi's kind of strong aggressive. Not to direct you to what to talk
No, that's good.
But I think that those were what was in my mind before I take off.
Yeah, no, appreciate it, Cam. Where can people find you?
On the unemployment line at the moment.
Start Substack.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So, do you want to go first?
Sure. So I think, the policies that Avi's put forward that really inspire me are things like public ownership of certain parts of the sector, not complete nationalization and public ownership, but a public grocery option so that people can access less expensive groceries. You can still shop at Loblaws or whatever, give Galen Weston your money. But the idea is that there would be a place for affordable groceries for people who need it. Cell phone coverage that would be affordable and accessible to people. A real revitalization of the electorate and the people, the EDAs, those sorts of things. Head to toe healthcare to include dental care, eye care, mental health. Mental health being included, I think, is really valuable. Nobody seems to be talking about that. We'll add dental care and pharmacare maybe, but mental health is really important. Also, of course, the environmental side of this. Avi has put forward a Green New Deal proposal, which is scary to people. But actually, if you look into it, it's really inspiring about how we can shift our economy, not give up everything, but also find ways to be more conscious about the planet that we live on. And, I think, as I've said, I just can't say it enough, but people really want alternatives. They want something that they can get excited about. They want something that doesn't just tell them they're screwed and we're all just going to go, burn on this planet. And I think that can, really motivate people and get that grassroots moving. Again, parties are always parties, so we never know what'll happen, but some of it's inspiring.
Nora, would you like to introduce some cynicism?
Yeah.
Yes.
This seat is super warm. So that's weird.
Ew.
Cam was really warming the seat up.
I don't know what to tell you.
He's got a warm butt.
So I think that the spirit in the room is very exciting. Like, people are really, really buoyed by what's happened, and that goes a long way. That's very important. And I also think that, like, one of my criticisms of the Lewis campaign was that they hadn't planned a slate to take over the officers. And then, of course, that was last minute, and it did happen. And as I said yesterday, like, that's a tremendously important step, because it's already going to be very difficult for this team to now switch into running a party, which is not, like, no offense to the Lewis campaign, it is not hard to run an election. Many of us have been involved with elections, and we know what you have to do. You have to revote, you go lead, right? So they had a very good election campaign team. They blew it out of the water, but the work of running a party is
especially a party in disarray.
Like, I was talking to someone who is kind of on the inside, but not like part of the establishment, and he was like, they have no idea what's coming for them in files, in their bookkeeping, So, and that's just a bit of cold water to remind us all that, like, when we're talking, you said it's a party, when we're talking about party politics, it isn't a social movement. It isn't an empty vessel that then you fill with your own ideas and your own energy and your own people. It's an insanely bureaucratic, potentially bunch of shit.
Yeah.
So, I like that stuff, and I'm sure they will find people that also like to untangle that kind of stuff. But there's no question that's tough. It's gonna be very tough.
Yeah, that someone in the comments on one of the social apps also said, like, what's the plan to deal with the books once they get that? And I think that's the one.
No, it's huge, and they're not going to necessarily say that publicly, right? Well, like, it's not as if, like, Lewis's campaign not having and we will have an audit with this audit. Like, that's
Nobody gets inspired by audits.
No, but
Yes, you're on the audit.
I guess.
But I do know that there is a lack of people in their campaign that have that experience, and it's well and good to say you want to act people, and I agree by and large with that, but you can't just fire. Like, you can fire people, but you have to replace them with someone, and that will be the challenge. And labor, some people in the labor establishment will make that very difficult. And then the other provincial leaders will also make that very difficult, as they're saying bullshit right now in response to the Lewis.
Yeah, and that was one thing Cam asked me about right before he left, was the contrast between Nenshi, whose statement we talked about briefly.
Who also is boring and sucks. Like, sorry, why do we mention
I
this?
know.
Yeah, useless. And
Carla Beck too. I mean, she's probably worse.
Yeah, I mean, nobody. She's nobody. At least Nenshi was the mayor of Calgary for, like, what, 12 years?
Well, the Saskatchewan NDP's been dead since Romano. Like, it's the 30-year problem that they're not.
And they're not solving it. I was joking with someone earlier. When I did my master's degree at the U of S, my cohort had the two campaigns trying to fix the NDP in it, the establishment and the upstarts. And it was really fun to be in the middle of this class with all these people that were fighting each other within the Saskatchewan NDP. And they've never gotten past. They just kept getting the worst. They get the worst people in Ottawa, frankly, to give them the worst advice, and who don't organize. I mean, I say it shouldn't be hard to organize something like that. It's not many people there, and most of them are good. Just follow the Manitoba model if you're really not sure what to do.
I know. Sometimes these things really frustrate me because it's really easy. Like, this kind of work, we know what the response is. You knock on you talk to people, you give them the inspiring, exciting ideas, you engage them and mobilize them. It's not hard.
No.
But they all seem to just try and make it harder by following polls and following pundits and whatever they're doing.
Yeah, and worrying about what the critics have to say. And it's like left-wing critics listen to us,
Exactly.
but right-wing critics, I mean, they're not going to give you. They don't want you to succeed. they're going to give you bad advice
Right.
on purpose.
And I think it was an interesting contrast because so Avi didn't scrum with reporters after winning.
Yeah, what the
from
hell
my
was that?
understanding, the party person said that never that always after the leadership race, it's the next day.
Yeah, but that's stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with it. He did do something with Reach, interestingly.
He did do something with the breach. Oh, that's
which whatever. Good for the Breach. Good get. But so they brought us Bob Canoe instead, premier of the province.
Oh, he brought himself. Really?
Yeah. And anyways, whatever, Bob comes out and, there were a few questions about the divisions within the party. I asked him specifically, are you concerned that the Alberta NDP is going to disaffiliate from the federal party? He was just like, no. And then because there were like more than a dozen reporters surrounding him, I was all standing behind him, so it's kind of awkward.
We're in that classic scum headlock.
Yeah. I want to do like, do you think that's not going to happen, or is it that you're not concerned if it does, right? And I didn't.
I'm not concerned. Like, go for it.
Yeah,
they're not correct.
I said after Nenchi's, I saw Nenchi drop his turd yesterday. His dog shit energy policy that is the UCP's policy, but with wind turbines. I was like, maybe the federal NDP should disaffiliate from the Alberta NDP.
Kick him out.
Say you're not New Democrats, and that's fine.
That would be
It's fine to not be New Democrats. But stop using the name and stop putting your garbage on the federal party and the other provincial.
Totally.
Now, Roberta, would it surprise you to learn that the handful of Alberta MLAs who are here this weekend are not allowed to talk to the media?
No, I'm not surprised by that. I would say that is par for the course, it seems, for that particular party and the leadership right now. I think it's disappointing. I think they should be able to have a conversation and they should be able to talk to the media. But I mean, there seems to be a real control situation going on in Alberta, and there's not a lot of freedom amongst their
Also strange.
MLAs these
I thought
days.
you guys was freedom country.
Right?
Well, it's like Nenshi thing just take a dump all over them. By implication, grandma.
I know that. What do you mean? Oh, did I do it? Oh, wait, since it's mine.
Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't mean to. Well,
No. I was literally trying to get yours. I love you for that.
yeah. Yeah. So, Canoe is saying, standing by Avi, saying it's great. He's well this enthusiasm in his party. We might have disagreements on certain things, and that's okay. So he's taking a very conciliatory approach. From my understanding, Lewis and Canoe are quite friendly.
Well, they seem like bros.
Yeah.
Like it's like bro, like what could not go right with
Bros.
upper class bros?
Yeah, they come from the same world in some ways. Very different.
But they come from the same
Yeah.
political dynasty world. Right?
They
Like
definitely-
their parents, they're steeped in that.
Was Bob Canoe's dad
Wasn't he a chief?
Oh, he's a chief.
Not like colonial politics.
Oh, okay. Because I don't know that much about.
He comes
Bob
from a
Canoe.
political family.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, and I think this is the problem with leadership campaigns is that they're fighting each other. They're trying to put different positions forward and trying to mobilize their own people. But at the end of the day, you have to be one party.
Yeah.
And you have to find a way to get past those things. And I think, some campaigns were a little more dirty and ugly than others. And I think that's a problem in some ways, that how do we move past? And we're going to see how the Alberta NDP does or does not get on board. I assume not for most of them. But then what happens to the ones who are on
No,
side?
totally. Yeah.
Who knows? But this is what is the problem with any leadership campaign, is that we fight each other and then we have to all get along
Well,
again.
but also, like, I mean, if they really want to do this properly, like, follow what Wapni's doing. Like, can you, under no like way could you have interpreted what he said in this press conference that he supports anything that he doesn't like. He was very clear that what Lewis stands for, that Canoe does not stand for. He was not blurring any lines there. And so you either do the Nenshi response, which is fuck that guy, and I'm not even going to inject anything useful to the discussion and just look like a sour kind of freak, or you take the spotlight like you did and you used it. So this is like political like training, I think, for Carla Beck and Jenny Benchi and frankly Merritt Stiles as well. And
has Merritt said anything?
Well, I mean, I don't think that Lewis is very far from the Ontario NDP. The politics are a little bit different.
Right, because it's also a three-party
Because it's a three-party system. Right. And like the Ontario NDP sucks right now. So like they're not going to be very dynamic. And nobody's listening to it. No one's from Ontario. I mean, Lewis is from Ontario, but like this was also the strange thing about this leadership race was everyone was from Western Canada. Yeah. And like that has a very specific kind of politics.
Except for Tony.
But Tony's from like, okay, so sorry, first of all, he doesn't count.
He's rural Ontario.
But he's not even rural. Like he's from like Huron County, which is like north of southwestern Ontario. Like it's kind of like, yeah, sure. He's from Ontario. Fine. But like, if you're talking about the labor movement, you're talking about the current iteration of the NDP, and you're talking about the new, like it was all Western Canada. Western Canada.
Yeah.
So, that has a big deal of this as well. And I don't think the Merritt had any reason to say anything about it at all.
Yeah.
They have their own problems.
Yeah, like they don't know how to. Well, they don't know how to do politics, and so that's a huge problem because Doug Ford is excellent at doing politics,
apparently.
And before they know it, the Liberals are going to be back in the driving seat. Because that's how.
I think Nate Erskine-Smith can beat Doug Ford because he can get.
Like the only thing that's standing between the Liberals coming back, the Conservatives, is a federal Liberal Party, the federal Liberal government. Ontario literally just goes back and forth between the Liberals and the Conservatives based on his electoral power. That's all they do.
And
the NDP only snuck in there that one time where the parties had, you had your 65-year run with Bill Davis collapse. You had Dave Peterson be uninspiring, actually left-wing in terms of what the Liberals were offering. And the NDP was able to get in there.
And then they didn't do anything NDP. And that's the problem, that then they just became like every other party.
Perhaps worse.
Yeah. And the same in Saskatchewan. I mean, we can trace the demolition of the NDP in these moments where they have the opportunity and they blow it by being as capitalistic, as centrist, right, all of it. And I think we should take a lesson from that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Dave Barrett, like Rich Notley, was a one-term figure. Almost everything Notley did was rolled back by Kenny over a few months at most, except for the minimum wage increase, which they just froze, and now it's the lowest in the country again. The coal phase out, which they accelerated, which the private sector was doing anyways. And and they created some new parks and stuff. Everything else just rolled back. Dave Barrett was like, maybe I'll only be one term, but I'm going to do things that are popular, that social credit is not going to roll back. Mind you, social credit is, an interesting because it's not exactly a neoliberal
wacky
policy.
Wacky.
Yeah. But BC social credit is also different from Alberta social credit. Greek democracy in Alberta, if you want to learn about the OG, Bible Belt neighborhood social credits.
I gotta run, so this was a blast.
All right, I'll see you later today. You're in town tomorrow?
No, tonight. But
I'll
be at the event.
Okay, cool. I'll see you later.
Hey, thanks, guys. This is fun.
Yeah. Roberta Lexier, everyone. If you listen to my old Forgotten Corner podcast with Scott Schmidt and Medicine Hat, you'll have recognized Roberta's voice. She was our most frequent guest by far. So, Nora.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? I asked Cam this about just the Lewis victory speech, which you live streamed, got real up close there. And just sort of the spectacle of him inviting his leadership rivals on. Heather McPherson and Rob Ashton booking it as soon as Avi brought his crowded supporters on.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact,
Yeah. So I think, like, we can talk about Lewis, and I think there's a lot of time to talk about Lewis. Let's spend some time on talking Heather and Rob, because as far as they're concerned, like, they're done, right? That's it for now, right? Um, what I'm going to talk to Antonia. You take it over. I'm going to be right back.
talk on.
No, we're talking about plans.
Oh, okay. All right, everyone. So it's just me now. And yeah, right now, so they're debating policy. Kind of, I find it's interesting that they sort of divided their policy debates up um throughout the weekend. Like, there wasn't a day where they debated policy and then like a day where they announced the leader that or did the executive election. It was sort of like all scattered throughout. So it's kind of, I feel like a lot of the loose people for the left, I know they've got their victory party starting within the hour. Some pub, the jazz bar in town, which I'm probably going to check it out. But yeah, so it's sort of anti-climactic because like they're still debating policy. As far as I know, I didn't see all of them from yesterday. Still, the only policy that's been voted down is join the EU, which I still think is funny. But they're still debating policy. Yeah, apparently Heather left as Avi was still on stage in speech. Might be a bit, I mean, those were the two candidates that were most critical of Avi Lewis, and without necessarily naming him, sort of the style of politics that he embodies. Um, well, now here's something interesting. In the final results, a lot of people predicted this. I wasn't one of them. I thought Rob Ashton would finish like a distant third, just because he's got like the weight of organized labor behind it. But Neil Johnson actually finished ahead of him, which was unexpected on my part. I didn't. I mean, I think everyone was impressed by her campaigns. I think she's very well liked by all sides of the party, and she's quite young. I think she's only like a few years older than I am. And I think she's definitely got a bright future ahead of her as an MP, a rejuvenated NDP. And yeah, I'm just trying to pull up the results, but my internet is being quite slow. But yeah, Tennille came in third with like 7%, and Ashton had like 5 to 6%, and then Tony was like less than 1%. Right. So it's very much like between Avi and Heather got like 85% votes. Avi, Heather, Tennille 92%. Right. And yeah, it's been this was the result everyone expected. As you know, it wasn't surprising, and it'll be interesting to see
Jeremy got him.
what Heather's next move is, because yeah, I can tell she's not like Avi on a personal level. She doesn't agree with his style politics, though on the issues I don't think they're that far apart, except on oil and gas in energy. Of course, in Alberta, that's like the only cause, right? It's oil and gas. But it's not, to be clear, Heather, I think some of Avi's supporters have had times.
Thank you for that.
Do the jump on this. Oh! Yeah, let's do it. But anyways, I think some of Avi's supporters have caricatured Heather's positions on oil and gas.
Oh yeah, she's pretty clearly against oil and gas.
Yeah, I mean, she's pro transitioning from oil and gas, but she is better than the Alberta NDP on oil and gas issues. We're being joined by a very special guest right now. Someone who you would not necessarily expect to be on a stream with me and Nora.
Well, it's magic of being where we are.
Yeah. We are crossing political divides right now. He actually linked to an article piece recently in the publication he writes for. That's a publication I am often quite critical of. He's a former columnist, turned reporter, and I think he's been doing a pretty good job as a reporter. I gotta say, he's fair. Raheem Mohammed of the National Post. Raheem, how you doing?
So was it Infinity Wars that was the most ambitious crossover event in history?
Yeah, Infinity Wars, I think that was the one. That was the one where it ends and Thanos snaps his fingers and half the people disappear. Right?
They're doing like one of those Oscar things that's like a tribute to
John Horgan. Well, I guess he died since last convention.
So I'm not sure if we should be streaming or kind of. So I think this is all going to culminate in a tribute to Ed Rodman.
Oh, right. He was like,
Not sure if we should be talking through this.
I mean,
I'm just looking to see who I know.
yeah, we'll tell you if anyone we know shows up.
Although this convention's felt so long, I'm sure like some people who were here on Friday are going to be showing up.
Good point.
Yeah, so.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Are you guys recording?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Now they're just rolling the credits.
This is the credits of who died.
Who've died since.
When was the last convention?
I can't remember. I should remember, but I can't remember. I
Because
wasn't
Jeremy
there.
didn't get turfed, right? He resigned because
Yeah.
you got resigned when the result was that bad.
Yeah.
It's 2016 in Edmonton.
Right. Well, that
can't
was
for
the
the life
infamous
of me.
one. That was where Avi sort of dipped his toe in.
2017.
Yeah.
2017 was Ottawa. I was there.
That was the one, the Sing Leadership Convention.
No, there was no, it wasn't a leadership convention. And then a Sing leadership convention happened. 2000. Well, he was elected federally in 2019, so it's been 19 years.
Well, he was elected leader though because he waited to get a seat, right?
He didn't wait that long.
I thought he did.
He was provincial member. Anyway, you know what? I'll look that up.
Yeah, Raheem, like you've got a PhD, right?
Yes, my Indian parents call it poor hungry doctor. Medical
What is?
doctors are the money doctors. Political science.
Yeah. So you're like a political scientist. You're also, a reporter, having a commentator in the past.
An overeducated shitposter. That's how I've.
Well, yeah.
That's how I've described myself.
I'm not. I only have a master's, so I'm not that overeducated. But
I got 2 of those.
in political science.
Political science and public policy.
Oh, public
Went to
policy.
the University of Calgary School of Public Policy, which is
Oh, yes.
slash right wing think tank. It's
Yeah. We
barely.
I know that school very well. Did you study under Flanagan?
No. Flanagan, I think, is.
Oh yeah,
He's
he
been
retired.
scarce.
Yeah.
Made some comments around 2012, 2013.
Oh yes. Yeah, it was when he was working for Wild Rose. But he was actually retiring before that. I read his book about it.
people's internet search histories and whether they should be used against them.
He took libertarianism to its conclusion. And how would you describe your political views? Because you've been a columnist, right? You're not like you're a reporter now, so you kind of take yourself out of the story. But like, I'm interested in, I suspect you're some type of conservative. How would you characterize your politics?
Yeah, I mean, I would put myself broadly in the new right. I think we're sort of moving away from this sort of neoliberal dogma that, we need to talk about cutting the corporate tax by X% and tax credits and spurring entrepreneurship. And I think I'm like a lot of younger conservatives, more not necessarily veering toward a social conservative, but I do care a lot about cultural issues. I care about young people in this sort of limbic capitalism, getting getting addicted to their smartphones. I heard of 2 15-year-olds when I was on the O train in Ottawa talking about their same game parlays on a betting website. So I do worry about sort of cultural things, sort of where we're moving culturally, a kind of lack of societal cohesion. So I would put myself broadly in the new right, although obviously that's not something I wear on the front of my chest as a column or as a reporter, but it is probably where I place my orientation.
Well, I mean, that is sort of, the National Post was, and when we were talking about the new right, are you talking about the new right or like the old new right, the neoconservative?
There's a new Substack out there. It's called Without Diminishment. Caroline Elliott was a co-founder before she moved on to stand for the BC Conservative leadership. Alexander Brown, Jeff Russ, Alex Marland, Margarita Dovko. I kind of broadly fit into that group. I'm not super young. I'm going to be 40 in July, so I kind of would be on the more geriatric end of that group, but that's sort of broadly where I put myself.
And I've we were sort of, I guess, trading places in a way, because I've been to UCP convention a couple of times, and I'm like there are other left wingers there, but I'm like the most out left winger, I guess you could say that. I just go and we're respectful and talk to people and ask them questions, and I write kind of whatever I want. Being an, I can kind of write whatever I want, whereas you've got like more about editorial oversight. But now you're here, fish out of water. What's it been like for you the past couple of days?
It's been making friends with a bunch of people I've insulted on the internet, including Nora and you, for the past several years.
Have you insulted me on the internet?
I think so. Like, remember I DM'd you something and you're like, touch grass.
Because I tweeted something and you thought I deleted. That's right. I said something mean about you. I don't know.
Well, I was like bullshitting with Adam Zivo about Fred Vaughn. I said now that he's moving on from QP, he should be Canada's next, I think it was anti-racism czar or something like that. Or maybe Islamophobia rap, but then you caught that.
Yeah, see, I don't think I would get along with Adam Zivo if I met him. I think.
No, I would want to strangle him.
He's fabulous. Like, I resent him for making me look uglier by comparison, but that's just...
He's favorite twin.
Twins. He's over 30, so...
Oh, yeah, he's probably like, I know someone.
I don't know if that's a word I can use, but I feel like the TW, asterisk, NK, and don't they reach their sell-by date by like 29? Or is that Zoolander I'm thinking of?
I'm at one, so I have no idea.
Yeah. I think
we're all rough.
My waistline puts me well in their territory, unfortunately.
But yeah, what's it been like? Being friendly with people that you've fought with online. Like, what else has it been like?
So it makes you really, careful about what you're going to say online going forward, which is about. So Nora got coffee an hour and a half ago. So if I die shortly after consuming this, it's not a suicide. It's potentially the strychnine that Alberta and Saskatchewan are fighting tooth and nail for, so they can kill gophers. I'm not sure if you've been following that story.
Yes, I have been. And actually, I was in a taxi once in Quebec City, and the driver asked me to pick some of that up. So I said I was going to Regina. He's like, get this poison.
Get strychnine?
Strychnine, yeah.
Okay,
I was like,
cool.
okay.
Well, I guess you can't get asbestos in Saskatchewan, and I think you can still get it.
You can mine it. It's still underground.
Okay, because I thought there's like this weird community that is like 70% of the world's asbestos.
Yeah, what's called asbestos today.
I thought so.
They just named the town to Valley Source.
Okay.
And it's crazy, actually. You drive by asbestos, and it's just like, oh yeah, there's mines. Like, they're mines.
So it's a Bell Resource? That's what
what did I say? Valley Source. Valley of Water. Yeah. So one of the things that I really like about being a political journalist and being a left-wing journalist is I really do like being at
Me too.
Like, I find them really, really fascinating.
Well, they say you go to conservative events to get drunk, and NDP events get pamphlets. we'll say particularly in Alberta, the Conservatives are a funner group to party with.
I don't think that's true. The first time I was at a Conservative convention was the Ontario Conservatives in like 2009 or something, and when I saw Peter MacKay walk into a room and being rated like a proper celebrity, I'm like, this is really cool. It's not my people. But I mean, the Conservative Party has decided to not allow left-wing journalists.
So last time I did a UCP thing, I'm obviously not doing conventions in person anymore. I went shot for shot of tequila with Erica Baroni's.
Erica likes
And for a small woman, like she could really throw that.
Wow.
It was a lot of
She works for Vacuum College.
Okay. Yeah, I think I knew that. I literally love her podcast with Cheryl. I guess it's no longer with Cheryl. It's taking a job with David Evie, but I did love their
Who's her new liberal?
I haven't followed, but those two had a really cool. Do you know that, like, American podcast of the liberal women wine moms from Oklahoma? It's incredible. I forget what it's called, but it's these like liberal Oklahoma wine moms that will have like Cory Bourbon and like grill them on whether or not it was a work.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah. So it's kind of got that vibe. Like, I think I want to say Cheryl's originally from Lethbridge.
Okay.
Lethbridge is a place where you can take the gal out of it, and you can't take it out of the gal. And Jerry Phillips, I would say kind of same thing. You have a certain rugged independence. What's the word I'm looking for? Certain grit, kind of unbridled sense of adventure. A place like Lethbridge.
Yeah, no, I because I was denied access to the Conservative convention, I had to like figure out how to get in different ways, and I snuck into a couple of we had a fake media pass, so it was really neat, and got into a couple of events. But I did drink
Shabbos dinner with Stockwell Day.
Shabbos dinner with Stockwell Day was definitely the weirdest, which you got to getting bounced, but I did get bounced in Catholics. It's in Campaign Life Coalition. I drink and mind because there's a special freak that converts to Catholicism as an adult.
Yeah, Jason. Yeah.
For example, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I grew up in the church, right? So I had a lot of fun. Martin Lukacs was with me, and he was like, like this absolutely, hell no, man. I am killing it in their non-knowledge of the catechism. So.
Yeah, I guess Lukasik, he was born in Poland, right? Oh, she's talking about Martin Lukacs.
No, not Lukasik. No, Martin Lukacs
From the Breach.
No.
But Thomas Lukasik was born in Poland.
Yeah.
He's an interesting guy. I mean, he's got a about a lot of the UC guys with like Rob Anderson when they were in caucus together. This is off topic, but I want to ask you.
I think we have been only off topic.
Yeah, so actually, I see the Zonik. So Zonik actually threatened to sue National Post to put story.
I saw the story.
It's not nice.
Well, I don't know. I shouldn't say it publicly, but Jamil Javani is quite aggressively, among others,
He's pro,
but they're marketing a competitor that's not legal for sale.
Right, it wasn't Zane.
It's Zane. Well, it's Zane and Vila. Like they're signing Vila.
Is that the Tucker Carlson?
No, that's out.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm
Tucker sells nicotine pouches.
No, this is not anything that has ever crossed my idea.
I don't understand how it's become like a cause celebrate in right-wing circles, but there's like,
someone decided to make it that way.
You read Danielle Smith's old columns from Calgary Herald about smoking and how that all these restrictions. Yes, exactly, and all these restrictions are like government overreach. Lobby's gone too far, and I feel like this is like a socially acceptable extension of that, where it's
it's technically tobacco free, but it is like marketed heavily by tobacco companies.
Yeah, I mean it's nicotine, right? It's addictive. I actually agree with her. I think you should be allowed to sell it in convenience stores rather than have to have it at a pharmacy. Like it's not like short nicotine gum, right? It's like I've had back pains. I think,
but sort of the other part of this story is that Zonin, which is the Canadian subsidiary of which tobacco has aggressively coursed the Canadian market, and they've done so by marketing their product as a smoking cessation product.
Right.
So it's specifically, it makes sense. It's in pharmacy because it's a health product, it's
Right.
a recreational product. Let's
I mean, it's kind of both.
Okay.
It's not like if you've ever had nicotine, it tastes like is.
I've only done chewing tobacco, so I don't know.
but they specifically, like Health Canada says, don't use it recreational. Use it if you're trying to quit smoking. And which is why, like, the only sort of flavor. You just think the flavor was
Yeah, you can order these like.
I heard the lemon lime is really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You nicotine guy?
No. I just caffeine. And try to scale back on that joint. But we're about a week and a half post eat.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah. I'll kind of do I do a phony fast with. So I'm actually same offshoot Shia as an head coach.
Oh, you're East Valley.
Yeah. So my So my family was part of that group that we should still in Uganda. So Jaffer was a fan of that. A little infant when that went.
And you weren't old.
No. This was 72. I went on the down. Yeah. So I think then she is from a Tanzania. Yes, that's extraction that came earlier.
Zermavenis too.
No, Zornmund Ugandan. He's not a smile. Shit. But my dad actually did go to college with his dad.
Oh, with Mahmoud.
Yeah. So those two around the same age, although Mamdani is younger. But less.
Yeah, because and we're getting into detail here, but like Ismaili Muslims aren't Shia, but they are 12ers.
No, they're not actually. We have an Aga Khan. He's currently in Canada. Actually, he's currently in his first visit. So
he's back.
His dad.
He's probably
No. That was the one who just died.
Oh, yes, that's right.
So the new one, he's in his like early to mid 50s. He just took over last year,
and is he like the Ismaili Pope?
Yeah, but better. Not quite because it's a hereditary sense, and it's a family that has purported lineage to.
I'm gonna have to end this because I need the study right here.
All right, I guess we'll teach your viewers about the Ismaili faith later on.
Look it up. Thanks for joining us,
Absolutely.
Ricky. I was glad to have you on. Ricky Muhammad, National Post, everyone.
R Muhammad_YOW if you want some bangers meets.
And I'm glad you've enjoyed your fish out of water experience.
It's been fun. Again, if I die in the next few hours, this is the strychnine laced coffee I got from Norlord.
Peace out.
Cool. All right, sign off because I'm gonna empty my stuff. Right now, I didn't sign up.
Are you leaving?
No. I just need my camera. I was supposed to be on with